welcome, audience, to another episode of Diversitas. Diversitas is a podcast at the crossroads of diversity, business, and culture. Today, I like to have my friends on, and there is really few professional friends that I have that are more important to me than this next man, who is Jamal Johnson. Mr. Johnson is the general manager of the Comcast Technology Center. Mr. Johnson is a professional's professional, which is why he has distinguished himself as a leader in the area of commercial property management. A Philadelphia product, Mr. Johnson manages the operations for the Comcast Technology Center, which is one of the tallest buildings on the Eastern Seaboard. The Comcast Technology Center is but the latest of several marquee buildings that Mr. Johnson has run over the course of his career. He's also, importantly, taking the lead as a volunteer, most recently as board chair for BOMA Philadelphia, which we'll talk about. Today, we talk to Mr. Johnson about his career path in this industry, as well as his role with BOMA and the status of DEI in the area of commercial property management. So with that introduction, I'd like to introduce the audience to Jamal Johnson. I gave you a lot of respect calling you Mr. throughout that introduction. I hope you appreciate that.
I do.
How are you, Jamal?
Mr. I'm fine, Mr. Bowman. How are you? So I'm well. Thank you for that.
Wonderful.
Awesome introduction. So glad to be here. Thank you for having me, and let's get to this conversation.
Absolutely. So for people who don't know, who may not be in this area or what have you, tell us, what is the Comcast Technology Center?
So the Comcast Technology Center is the latest in the development in the Comcast corporate headquarters. It is where the Comcasters, is what they're called, engineer and plan for future developments and things of that nature.
And I made reference to the fact that it's a tall building. How tall is the Comcast Technology Center, and how does it compare to other commercial buildings on the Eastern Seaboard and in the country?
So the Comcast Technology Center, CTC as we refer to it, is the 7th tallest property outside of Manhattan in Chicago. It is the most technologically advanced building in the area, and it is 60 stories and features the Four Seasons Philadelphia Hotel on the top 12 stories of the building. It is.
So you have Comcast that has obviously the majority of the space in the building, and then you have a hotel at the top of the building, right?
Yes.
And so do you work for Comcast or do you work for somebody else? How does that work?
I work for a company called Prologis. Prologis is Comcast's development partner, and so we build and manage the real estate on behalf of Comcast.
And Prologis, is Prologis a regular developer of commercial properties?
Yes, Prologis is actually the world's largest industrial owner. So prior to me working with Prologis, I was employed by Liberty Property Trust, one of the largest local commercial real estate companies, development companies, who is responsible for much of the Philadelphia skyline.
So that I'm glad you raised that, because I really wanted to help the audience kind of understand what your career path has been. How does one become the general manager of one of the largest buildings in the country? How does that happen? Tell us about your career path.
I will. I'll go back to understand my path and the opportunities that surround others in this industry. I'll go back to prior to my time in commercial real estate. So prior, I'll go not long, but I'll go one step before commercial real estate.
Okay.
Prior to commercial real estate, I was in the sector of mental health. So I was at a mental health site and I was a supervisor there. And life happened and I needed to make a career change. So as I was working and looking for a new career, a friend of mine worked as a manager of a security team in one of these Center City buildings, two Logan and one Logan Square to be specific. That manager needed a daytime security officer, and I needed daytime work. My supervisory role at the mental health site was at mid shift. I was a newly single father with custody of my sons, and that predicated me to look for employment during the time they were in school. So my day was I would get up, take them to school, do my errands, go to pick them up from school, take them to daycare, go to work, get off of work, pick them up from daycare, take them home, put them to bed, rinse and repeat. I couldn't really spend any time with my boys into the weekend. And as a father, you know, that's not
Right, right.
So I made a career change, and yeah, I took on the first thing I could find that looked like I could move into that and be home with my boys was a security officer. So I became a security officer in 2 Logan Square, where I sat in the front desk and I greeted visitors to the building and things of that nature. At that time, the company that still owns the building, I was going through a growth spurt and they were looking for internal talent to help open other properties. And the talent in the management office that managed 1 and 2 Logan Square was tasked to come in and help open these properties. That caused the vacuum, which I began to backfill. And during that backfilling, I was introduced to commercial real estate.
How did you tell us about that? Because okay, your position at that point in time is as a security officer. So were you helping to backfill stuff while you were still a security officer?
So I was. At the time I came in and I learned the ropes, so to speak. And then just filling in, helping, sitting the front desk. Yes, I was the secretary. I sat the front desk. It's fun. I'm happy to do so. That actually gave me a lot of insight into what the goings on in commercial real estate.
Right.
At that time, Brandywine is the company that owns and manages the buildings. They needed a full-time TSR, tenant service representative. And in short order, I was given that opportunity. And so I went from security guard to the tenant service representative, secretary, sat at the front desk. And from there, my progression started through commercial real estate. So I sat at that desk, and then I became a property assistant, and then an assistant manager, and then I became the manager of the building that I was once the security guard in.
So how long did it take you to get from being a security guard to being the manager of that building?
Roughly 6, 7 years it took me. So commercial real estate is definitely a fascinating industry. A lot of ins and outs. So I was deliberate. I took my time and intentional about my next moves. I was not trying to continue to bounce around. Stability for myself and my family was at the top of mind. So I made that decision to learn all I can and get some schooling and things of that nature and dive deeper into real estate. So,
Excuse me, I'm sorry to break in on you, but you're talking as if that was some like super long period of time between when you came in as a security guard and when you're running a building, right? 7 years in terms of that trajectory is, I respectfully would say that that's not a long time.
well, thank you for that, but it felt like a long time.
Yeah, right.
You know, it was the time I paid my dues, right? I had to learn the ins and outs. I boots on the ground, learning from my engineers, you know, and just really taking in all aspects of commercial real estate. So it was time well spent.
And another thing I think to point out is that You know, in that 7 year span, when you say you went from being a security guard to working to running the building, being the manager of that building, and you were the manager of one Logan or two Logan?
I was the manager of one Logan, which is the sister building of two Logan. So me and the manager of two Logan were interchangeable. So I would step in for her, and she would step in for me as needed.
Right. But again, it's important for those who are watching who are not located in Philadelphia or near Philadelphia to understand that one Logan is a big building.
One Logan is a 800 square foot building with office.
You mean 800,000 square foot building?
Thank you for the correction.
Yeah.
800,000 square foot building with an office component, and at that time, the Four Seasons Hotel was attached to that building. Before the Four Seasons moved, we were in that location. So I had responsibility for the office and for providing power and potential over to the Four Seasons. So those apartments in that.
Interesting. Just full disclosure, I used to work in that building too. That building houses two of the largest law firms in the city, Blank Rome and Drinker, Biddle, and Reith, right?
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they are the two marquee tenants at the time for the building.
So yes, and so that leads me, because one of the questions I had, I'll get to, but I do want for you to kind of talk about what are all the things that entail managing a property of that size and scope?
Everything. So we are the landlords, we are the maintenance shop, we are the conduit to the city as far as codes and legislations for commercial buildings, for high rise and things of that nature. So what that entails is, so there's engineering, there's janitorial, there's security, there's elevators, there's a plethora of other things that we're responsible for. So when I got my intro into commercial management, I was a little naive. I thought it was more like managing your home, right? You got to home. I'm originally from Nicetown, North Philly, that area. I would put a window unit into my home, and that was my HVAC at the time, right? And then to find out that there's chiller plants and cooling towers and boilers and heat rejection and heat recovery wells and all types of things that goes into managing and running an office tower. It was a little different, right? So it took a little time to understand exactly what it entailed to run a Class A office building. So let's keep that. So there's Class A, there's other classes, trophy class. But
what is that? So what does it mean to be a Class A building?
Class A building comes with age of building, location of building, amenities, and finishes and things of that nature. So which all drives your rental price,
right?
Your price per square foot is tenant. And then the tenants that you attract is the big part of becoming a different or classifying you as where you would land, Class A, trophy class, and things of that nature. So yeah, that's the scale, and that's like BOMA. We have like the square footage and things of that nature where we pull everything in and consider everything for the property.
So you've kind of reached a particular level where you're running a Class A building. You are, I think, safe to say, appreciated by your employer because you're doing a bang up job. I mean, they got you running again, one of their most important properties, certainly at that particular point in time. So what made you leave that cushy job with that great company?
Good question. For anyone, it's an awesome company. Growth potential, right? So so I was there and I learned so much being a part of that team. But at the time, my trajectory was stunted because I had a general manager in place who which was my next position from property manager, senior manager, general manager, right?
Right.
So, and an opportunity presented itself to join the company Liberty Property Trust, who managed the Navy Yard, so the
Right.
commercial offerings at the Navy Yard. And I had the opportunity to avail myself of that and be a part of development, be a part of new construction as well, parks, parking lots, and to have interaction with the different city agencies, PIDC, and others. So it was a good opportunity to advance my career and take on new challenges. So I gave it some thought and joined the Liberty Property Trust team as general manager of the Navy Yard.
And so let's dive into that a little bit, because when you manage any property, is it true that you manage that property's budget?
That is, yeah, that's true. That's number one, right? Our the lease is our Bible, and the budget is our guideline, right? So the lease directs what we can and cannot put into our budgets, what we can and cannot pass back as operating expenses to our tenants, and things of that nature. So, and the lease dictates what services we provide to our tenant base, and that all is a part of constructing a budget. So yes, as manager, I was responsible for the budget. And then as general manager, it's budget, it's long range plan, and some other things of that nature.
Okay.
So that planning for the future of that property. Yeah.
Okay. So without, I don't want you to tell any tales out of school, certainly, but if you look at an average Class A building in Philadelphia with, high-end tenants, big law firms, whatever the case may be, generally speaking, where's the budget going to come in around to manage that type of a building?
So that's a good question. So if we look, so it differs, right? So you have suburban properties with different makeups,
Right.
things of that
Right.
nature, tenant makeups. So then you have some industrial and things of that nature, which I also had at the Navy Yard. But let's focus on Class A office towers in a market like Center City, for example.
Yes.
And let's say you have that, and you have the makeup, and you have these marquee tenants. So roughly your budget can range, let's give it a range, right? Because there's different
Yes.
things that it goes into for different properties, right? So since we're talking broadly, let's give it a range of, so let's call it 1 million square feet. And you have marquee tenants. So we'll give it a range of, if you're doing full service, meaning you're providing everything to this tenant outside of their space, right? So all of their needs, you're meeting all of their needs except paying for their utilities and things.
Right.
Because that's a whole different.
But you're responsible for all the common areas. You're responsible for obviously all of the.
So
go
a
ahead.
good budget for that common area, exterior grounds, and things of that nature will range between $10 to $15 million for the typical annually for the typical Class A office building with roughly 1 million square feet.
Wow. What's the biggest expense?
That differs, but it typically it really depends on the needs of the your tenant base. But your biggest expense outside of utility, so your biggest controllable expense, it will be between janitorial and engineering.
How does, your story in terms of how you got into the whole property management scene, and then you've progressed over time, is yours a typical path or an atypical path?
I would say
I'm laughing as I'm asking the question because I think I know the answer, but you can answer the question.
it's definitely atypical, right? It is not the typical progression. It is. It was. I was fortunate in a lot of things. I showed a lot of tenacity and grit, and I like to make things happen, right? So, I don't like to sit still too much, right? Like my grandmother used to tell me, it's don't grow any moss on your butt, right? You got to get moved. So you got to keep moving forward. My progression was a little, I would say, I don't want to quite say aggressive, but it was targeted. I was deliberate on what I wanted to do. My director at the time asked me what I wanted to do with my career. I said, I want your job. And that helped me shape my philosophy in commercial real estate. Whereas he said, good, you should want my job, because the better that he trained his staff, the more ready we were to move into more senior roles. And then he could move up and not have to do too much day to day. So part of my philosophy today is, if I ready my team, then everyone's always ready, right? So if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready.
Right.
So and so my progression or my trajectory is atypical, because a lot of people, so Brandywine and Liberty, or REITs, so real estate investment trust. And REITs typically live and die by churn. So we're buying properties all the time, and selling properties all the time. So for me to be with two owners, for the time I was with two owners, is a little bit atypical also. A lot of companies are third parties, and they're, so they're contract based. We were more owner based, so we provided a lot. Our different structures were a little bit
Right. So I mean, when I think of non-owner developer property managers, I think of the big dogs. I think of now I'm blanking out. CBRE and
CBRE, JLL,
right.
Cushman, those are all wonderful companies. They are, with great talent base and very, very talented individuals. But local companies, Brandywine and Liberty, both developers and owners, both. So that's a little atypical to be from one developer into another. So Liberty and Brandywine at one time were like neck and neck for the biggest in the region.
Yes.
So it was you work for one or the other, right?
Yes.
So it was that, right? So it was allowing talent going back and forth across.
Right.
So that was a basis for a pretty solid career, right? And a pretty solid base to learn from, right? A big footprint in the area and a wonderful foundation. So what made it atypical also is one typically does not join as a security guard and then rise.
Yes, that's why I laughed.
Right. So that almost never happens in the industry. But I'm living testament that it happens, and I talk to my janitorial, security, and engineering teams all the time to tell them my story, because I was that guy sitting out at the front desk, and I let my staff know that I did exactly what you're doing, and I understand. So I really, really value my front line, and it's exactly that, team, right? There's no.
How many people are on your team? How many people are you responsible for on a day-to-day basis?
So indirectly, through the whole organization that manages down here, I had about 160 people.
Wow.
Yeah.
How would you describe your management style?
I'm collaborative, right? I have my style is I'm a general manager, right? By title and by skill. So I know how to pull the experts close to me. I know how to utilize the experts and let them shine, right? So my style is my staff and my team will always get all of the accolades, right? That's what they're here for. They're here to get out there and do, right? They're all doers. So I clear the runway for them and let them be as successful as they can be. And then inversely, if there's any issues, those issues and those complaints fall on my shoulders as the general manager. So, and then I'll come back and we'll readdress with the team. But I stand behind my team and I support them. So that's my style. It's like just to be there, to be a resource, and to help guide in the right direction.
What's an average day like for you? Describe an average day in the life of Jamal Johnson.
There's no average days in property management.
They always say that.
No, right? But the truth is, I'll have a to-do list and I'll have 3 top things on that list, and then they definitely get shuffled. Now, there's things that I have to do, no question about that, right? We all have things we have to accomplish to do our day-to-day job. But the thing that I really love about property management is that I've never had 2 days that were exactly the same in my career. You know, my career is, now I think I've been doing this, I'm going to age myself here, for like close to 18 years now. I'm hearing myself say that. I'm like, wow, I shouldn't have said that. But I'm old. So
you look great. Don't worry about it.
Thanks, brother. I mean, you listen, like you said at the intro, we're friends, so you're being kind right now. But
no. I've seen your path. I've seen your outside of work path as well. So
yeah, appreciate you for that. Yeah. So that's it. Like it's one of my. So I just talked about my managerial style, but one of my mottos is, there's no problems, only opportunities to provide excellent customer service.
Oh, I love that.
There's nothing's a problem. Just you bring it to me, and I'll show you how we can accomplish it. I will not bend on my on not do what's right. I will always do what's right. I will always be honest and upfront. But there's not a task that we back down from. Our jobs are to educate our tenant base on what they want and make sure they get it, but they might want to go about it in a way that's not quite the way they should, right? So, and not because there being anything happening behind the scenes, various things like that, because our job, as I said, is to know opposing legislations, things you can do in commercial high rises and things of that nature, and to inform our tenants. Their job is to operate their business. Our job is to operate the real estate and to be their partner to make sure that their experience, so their employee base and their experience, is always elevated. We like to look at ourselves as a retention tool. So if we provide excellent amenities, excellent accoutrement, excellent facilities and things of that nature, then your employee base would be happy to come to work every day. And your visitors with whom you do business with would like to come to your offices because they have a pleasant experience. So that's we're all about customers.
You know what's interesting about what you're saying, Jamal? It just came to me that at a certain point in your professional journey, you became a business person. You became someone who was aware of and concerned about how your particular role impacted the business of your company and how you can have a positive impact on the financial outcome of your company by doing the things that you are in control of. And so the question really is, how did you get, like, when did that happen in your growth as in the area of property management?
Good question. I like how you set that up. It's when I had more responsibility for the long range plans and understanding the P&L and what side property management sits on that, right? We are actually on the L side. We do not directly generate income.
And by L, you mean liability or loss, profit loss.
So we're not on the profit side. We the leasing teams and things of that nature.
Right.
They're on the profit side. They make money. We spend the money, right? So we are necessary to operate the property.
Right.
And we are tasked with operating the property and it's and keep and maintaining the property and actually improving the property. But that all takes money.
Mm-hmm.
Now, and what I definitely embodied was that how can we spend less, and how can we affect the retention rate of our tenant base? And that's by providing excellent customer service. And what makes my building more attractive than the building across the street? Well, again, amenities and things of that nature. The whole experience, and then the fact that I manage it. You know, I'm not the guy across the street. I'm going to be, I'm going to be face to face with my clients and my tenants as much as they want.
Right.
I'm not going to be overbearing, but they understand that they have an intensive general manager there servicing that property, and that we're doing everything we can do, not just for my company's bottom line, but to assist our tenants' bottom line by
Yes.
making their experience
Yes.
better, and retaining their employee base, and making their visitors and their clients happy to come into those offices. Because let's face it, how many people have went into a Center City office and then thought, oh, I wonder if I'm going to see, let's call it XYZ law firm. You're not going to walk into the office and say, I hate this management company. You're going to, every experience that you have when you walk into that office, you're going to point to that company.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something I really instill into my team, is that, yeah, we may work for this property management company, but we're responsible for this property. Who's responsible for these tenants?
So it's interesting you say that, because it just made me think of something else. I was just in a building the other day. I won't say the building, but it's a Class A building, houses several large law firms in the Center City West Market area, farther in the West Market area. But I go in there, and you gotta do whatever you need to do to get upstairs, right? And the security, there on the first floor, they weren't very engaging. They weren't very friendly. And I thought to myself, this is a problem, right?
Yeah.
This is a problem.
Yeah.
And so that I have a couple of questions. Number one, security people, are they given any kind of hospitality training or anything like that to make their presentation better when people come in and engage with them?
Good question. That's a really good question. It differs per property and per owner. What we do is we do something called white glove training. We teach all of our security ambassadors to be greeters and customer service, and make sure they're customer service oriented also. Yes, they have the task of securing the property and the surrounding grounds. Yes, they do. That's first and foremost. But they all go through white glove training and retraining. So yes, we continuously drill and train on what to do in fire drills, what to do in active shooter, what to do in elevator thing, anything that security related. But we also drill and train on interaction with visitors and interaction with the tenants of the building. Now because that person, again, I was that security.
Yeah, you were there.
I
Yes.
sat that desk.
Yes.
I was a lot of times the first interaction that a person had when they walked into a Center City high rise. So a lot of times our interaction would affect the mindset of the person that's going up to see whomever they're going to see. So if they're already upset, then I've already made it harder for our tenant to conduct business.
Yes.
So
yes.
So
yes.
And that's something that I embody and something that I now pass on to my team.
I appreciate that. I just thought about some other nightmare scenario. It's interesting how we oftentimes, the really good leaders know and understand this. But I think sometimes when businesses are either going through something or the business owners are so busy or whatever, and they they really miss out on opportunities by who they hire. Um, and I was thinking about, I was at a market the other day, and this again goes to the customer service piece. And they all of them have these self checkout things, right? And you have a person there that's supposed to be monitoring the self checkout thing.
Yeah, yeah.
So Jamal, I'm in this market with my wife, who is much more sensitive than I am. Let's just say that. So we're
Love how
checking
you.
out. We're checking out, and I my peripheral vision sees her, and she's obviously kind of like disturbed by something. I'm like, "What's wrong with you?" And she's like, "Are you seeing this guy who's supposed to be over this thing?" And I was like, "No." So I'm trying to get out. So I'm
You're
checking
focused.
out
You're
whatever.
focused on,
I'm
yeah,
focused on, like, let me get out of here.
right.
So all the stuff is bagged up. Pick up the bags, turn, and am faced with this person who looks like he hasn't had a shower in at least a couple of days.
Hmm.
He has his hair up in the air like a Gumby type thing. Half of it is braided, half of it is unbraided, because I guess he was in the process of rebraiding his hair. And I'm just horrified for the business that they would have that person representing them to the public.
I get you. I do. It is one thing. We won't go into the social economical empathy
Yes,
makeup of why
of
individuals think.
why that is, because we
Yeah,
could.
yeah,
We
we
could.
could, and we have personally.
Yes,
So
yes, we have.
we
Yes,
have, we have. So, but I'll talk to it from a business standpoint of yes, we come across that a lot. Now, I have on my like we have me and some others in the industry. We have a relationship with PAL, the police and politically, where we go in and we try to educate the PAL the children about commercial management. A lot of people don't know that a Jamal
right,
Johnson this, right?
right,
There's a team that manages these hierarchies. Like
right,
we're not a team that manages your house at home, right?
right.
So mom and dad's the team, and mom's usually the person that makes it happen.
Yes,
Mom's the general manager, and he's the maintenance man, right? Whatever. But the thought is, it's we're trying to get to these children young to help them understand what it takes to move into into a professional life, right? Not regardless of what your role is, you're a professional. That's how you should envision it and see yourself as you're a professional. You need to put your professional self forward, your best foot forward. So, but sometimes you need help. And then, like in this case, in the instance of this young gentleman that you ran across at the market, I've had people like that, right?
hmm
But I don't know their makeup at home. So, and you can't go in and say, hey, what's going on with you? Like
right,
you got a problem. But there's a way to get that out and to figure out where they need to be met. Right. So I believe that everyone needs to be met somewhere. And everyone's on a different, it's a sliding scale where you got to meet people. So what we do I'm not even going to say here, but what I've done throughout the career is make sure that the back of house areas where our staff um, frequent, on their breaks and lunches and things like that before and after work, make sure that they're stocked and comfortable and they have everything that they need. And that doesn't just mean a comfortable chair, table set, eat lunch. That means we have showers. That means we have facilities that our teams can use. That means that it's acceptable if you would like to come to work early to use these facilities. That means it's acceptable if you would like to stay late and use these facilities.
right.
And then in instances, we have done outreach, whereas, yeah, come on in, you can wash your clothes on site. Now, I know my employers may see this, but yeah, and then it's not going to stop. If any of my team needs some facilities that they can't otherwise avail themselves of. And if I can offer it, I'm going to offer it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because that's better for that individual. That helps that
Yes.
individual's self-confidence and vision of themselves, which helps the company's bottom line. Because everything comes down to the bottom line with the company. But it's the right thing to do for these.
Right.
And,
Right.
and let's face it, Mike, it is, sometimes that's all you need is a person to listen to you and recognize that you need a hand put out to you so they can extend their hand back. I'm always going to have that hand out and hope that someone extends it back. So.
Well, I love that. And it really speaks to the fact that as a leader in your organization, that you recognize and understand that there are many types of investment, right, that you can make, right? And when you invest in your people to help them, and you know, it's funny because you said this earlier, right? You want to put your people in the best position that they can be to be successful, right? Well, that's called investing in them. You're not leaving them to their own whatever to figure it out. You're investing in them so that they can be the best that they can be. And that investment component is not just a financial component, but it's an investment of time. It is an investment of, you know, of engagement, where you're giving them, you know, advice, telling them what they should be doing, coaching them. You know, all of that stuff is a part of it, right?
It is, and you're spot on. But let me qualify also that Prologis and Comcast cares about the individuals that work with.
That's awesome.
Neither company refers to people as employees. You know, both companies are awesome, and they are definitely community-based companies that care about the communities that they do business in. No, that's not the sales pitch. That's not the, you know, hey, I got to say that because I wear the jersey. No, the truth.
I wasn't going to say that.
No, that's the truth, Mike. I mean, I'm a straight shooter on this one. That's the truth. I mean, because how can I give my all, right, to companies that don't care about it, right? It's because it's, look, what we do. We're in the trenches. I care about the teams who are in the trenches with me, and in the companies I've been fortunate enough to work with care about the teams that getting the work done, and that's a platform for success. And I've been very fortunate to have that opportunity. But you know, you got to reach down, right? And you got to make sure that continues, right? Because these individuals, those different silos, those different disciplines that I mentioned, they're contract employees.
Right.
We contract with a different service provider,
Right.
who then employs people to provide those services. So they're not direct employees or partners of, well, they're our partners, but they're not directly employed by the company that I'm employed by. However, I don't look at that differentiation only when it comes to co-employment. So you got to by legal,
Right. Right.
But when it comes to humanitarian, being a person, right? We're all people, you know. We are all here to work together and move in the same direction. So that's it. I mean, my thing is, I ask my team all the time, how are you and what can I do to make your day better? I'm asking my staff. I'll ask my security guard, the janitor, like, what do you need to make your day better? What do you need to make, you know, your job easier, more enjoyable? Yeah, enjoyable. I said that on purpose because, you know, you got to get out of bed and run to an office building, a warehouse, wherever you're going. You would rather be with your loved ones. We would all rather be with our loved ones. But we do this so we can enjoy time with our loved ones.
Yes.
So it should not be a taxing time when you're away from your family because you have to make a living. So no one wants to hate to go to work. I don't want to hate to go to work. So I try to make sure that the team is happy as possible, right? Some things are out of your control, but you know, I don't want anyone to say Jamal made my day worse.
Thank you for that. So I know we're running up against it. I have a couple more questions though. Tell me about BOMA. What is BOMA, and what has your role been at BOMA?
So BOMA, the Building Owners and Managers Association, that's what BOMA is. We are an industry association for commercial real estate, industrial, the eds and meds. So education and medical arenas, life sciences and things of that nature as well. What we do is we interface with all of the owners of the skyline, right? So if you look over Center City and any other major city, um, those buildings are typically BOMA members. So BOMA, the Building Owners and Managers Association, is a worldwide organization with local chapters. I happen to be a member of the Philadelphia chapter. I am the immediate past president of, or chair is what we call ourselves, of the BOMA Philadelphia chapter. I am, and I will say it, the only African American president, chair, and one of of this chapter, and one of the very few board members that has been African American. So, as my role as immediate past chair, I'm still on the executive committee, so we steer that organization. I am also the chair of and creator of the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee locally for BOMA Philadelphia. And I am the vice chair of the International Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee for BOMA International. So this was a committee that we started 2 years ago, and it's taken off. So we started in 21, and as I was an initial member in 21, and I've risen to become the vice chair of that international committee. So what those two committees do is we bring equality to the commercial real estate industry, right? And it's the commercial real estate industry has looked one way for a very long time, and we in that way has not always been indicative of the neighborhoods and cities that the buildings serve, right? So the building would be plopped down in the middle of, say, called Philadelphia, where we are, which is a huge minority city, but that the people that manage and own these buildings did not look like the areas that we do business in. The workforce with the higher paying jobs did not look like the makeup of the communities that we do business in. So these committees that I have the pleasure of being a part of, we are changing that. We are, again, through our outreach with PAL, through other educational things, we're making some impact. I go far back as to middle school. I've been to middle schools to have conversations, to talk to people and educate people about that our industry exists and that our industry is for us, right? So, and it's fortunate that we're gaining traction. Unfortunate that I don't have any counterparts that look like me. And so I pointedly said that. So yeah.
Are they I mean, obviously these committees have started. Is there still momentum within the committees to get stuff done?
Oh yeah. Yes, it is a lot of momentum because there's a lot of opportunity, and we have some very passionate individuals involved. We have a very diverse group on the local side and on the international side. Whereas that group, it's, and I'm going to say something that might touch some people.
That's fine.
So, to have a true diversity and equity and inclusion committee, everyone can't look the same. I don't care what you look like, because you need diversity in the room to talk about diversity. And I've been pointed with the outreaches we've done to attract that talent to sit in those rooms. We need all types of opinions and thought process and backgrounds so we can understand the root of the issues and that we can be impactful, right? So if everyone thinks the same, then everyone's going to want to attack or address the same thing in the same manner, which may not be beneficial.
Right.
So yes, we are being impactful. We have helps on the committee side, on the BOMA committee side. We've helped different owners and different managers structure different, but their contracts different. We've helped them bring on more minority partners. We've helped them identify more minority partners that fit the criteria for it, with insurance, with history, and things of that nature.
Right.
So we're making an impact locally. Internationally, we are doing very, very, very important work with educating the locals and educating these international or national companies on the benefit of doing business with in approaching it in a diverse setting. So, and that, we all know diversity actually positively affects your bottom line, where a lot of people will say that it would do the opposite, right? So we're definitely being instrumental in educating different companies on the benefits of having a diverse leadership structure, not just a diverse workforce. So we're being instrumental in helping different executives find diverse candidates and things of that nature. And something that we've done, and Michael, with your help, we've helped individuals see the benefit in structuring a monetary payout based on your diversity accomplishments, right? So it's tied to bottom line in a lot of cases.
Yes.
Whereas, if it doesn't have any weight to it, if you don't mess with people money, you don't get their ear, right?
Oh, so, it don't work.
Yeah. So we've been on the BOMA side with some help from you, sir, that in direction and actually, your PowerPoints and everything that you've done has been so helpful.
Oh, Jamal, stop that. Thank you.
And it's true.
Stop that.
It's
Stop that.
what it is. But we are making some strides in a industry that has not been always friendly.
No question.
This industry looks totally different than it did when I joined it. And it is starting to definitely reflect the communities in which we do business in. Top down. There's a lot of bottom up approaches, but top down, right? So, it's just it doesn't. Listen, you're not going to wow me by bringing on two diverse janitors or somebody like that, right? You bring on a janitor or you bring on a security guard and people of color. You're not wowing me. I mean, yeah, if I'm that janitor, then or security guard, then yeah, hire me, right? But what I'm saying is you need to do both. You need to your management staff needs to look like the team they're managing.
Right.
So, because if you can't, look, another thing my mom said, if you can't see it, you can't achieve it.
Yeah, that's right. I just heard that again the other day. If you can't see it, you can't achieve it. And that's real. Jamal Johnson, we appreciate you, man. We really do. We appreciate what you're doing, first of all, in this city. We appreciate what you're doing for your organization and for BOMA. And we appreciate your time today. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your perspective.
Michael Bowman, thank you for having me on Diversitas. So it's been a pleasure. Again, thanks for everything.
And to our audience, thank you for being a part of our show. We look forward to continuing the discussion and keeping it going. Till then, be well.